Hey, what's up guys? Tukey here, back again with another episode of my UDFA only franchise mode challenge series right here on NHL 20, and today we continue to try and find our way out of this endless forest maze. It just doesn't look like, at least it hasn't looked like really at any point thus far, that we were going to find a way to make this work. Today we continue to try and find that path. The last episode, we changed up the strategy a little bit, and we talked about it a lot. In terms of the strategy, either we try to build, from the get-go, we try to build with just players like Vasunov, Linden, and Jas, who come out of the draft, true undrafted players that aren't already established, and we see if they can take the step up. And of course, through the first 3 to 4 seasons, while we are seeing progression, like Jas and Linden have gotten a little bit better, Ryan Hughes improved, we weren't seeing any jumps in potential, which was a bit of a warning sign. And I think someone like Jas moving forward, just, a little bit off topic, I guess, but someone like Jas is going to be one of the key players here. Like, if this guy doesn't jump up in potential, I don't know if I'm going to get anybody to jump up in potential. But it was that strategy versus picking up already established players and, having it be a combination, kind of like we have now, where at the end of the day, there are decent players. The Connor Sherrys of the world, Yanni Gord, Nikita Zaitsev, and of course the biggest name of them all, at least in the current NHL, is absolutely Artemi Panarin. But in terms of trying to, get all of those players, try to make something out of that roster while also bringing up people, we didn't take that strategy at the start, number one, because it just would have been difficult to get all those guys, especially Panarin, with the contract that he just signed. But right now we're in an interesting spot where we can try to get a little bit of a mix going. Now, here's the thing. While we did get rid of some prospects in the last episode, we didn't get rid of anybody that I necessarily regret getting rid of. I mean, the medium backup, medium franchise goalies, okay, maybe I'll end up regretting that one. But defensively, we do still have Ranford at a low 4. I don't know if Asham and Alexandrov are going to make it. We have some medium 7s. But forward-wise, again, we've held on to some people with decent potentials where, yeah, we'll see if these guys can make it. The low top 9s we talked about a lot. Guys like Vasunov, McGillis, can they take that step forward? This series initially wasn't planned for the start of NHL 20. And then, of course, like I said, we did this on Madden to see what the outcome would be. We got it to work eventually. I don't know, though. I felt like, if we were to do this in NHL 19, it might have been a little bit easier. But this year thus far, I said it at the start of this episode, it just seems like an endless forest. Like, we just keep going in circles. We haven't found that one path to truly go on and just say, okay, this is it. It's either going to work or it's not going to work, but clearly this is the way to do it. This is the way to go. It hasn't quite been that yet, but I'm hoping that we do see improvement from the likes of Jas this season, Vasunov as well, and then maybe, this is the way to go in terms of having it be the mix of already established guys to help bring up the free agents that we're picking up at the end of each draft. Now, I would have said this team isn't worth following along with. 6-2-1 isn't a bad start to the year. Gonna guess, though, that we're gonna crash and burn, and that is already starting to happen. So I will see you guys at the end of this season, or if something interesting happens, and we'll see what kind of progression we get. But yeah, we're not at the point yet where it's like, all right, month by month, let's see how we do. Although you never know, could be proven to be wrong. Maybe Cam Talbot will win the Vezina this year. All right, we've reached the end of the season, and while you would have expected us to post a better record, of course, it was not good enough for us to make the playoffs. 35 wins, though, is nothing to scoff at, so not too bad. It's the first time that we did not finish dead last in the division. When it comes to point totals, though, this is where it is going to be interesting, or at least I hope so. So Jas put up 37 points, still showing up as a low bottom 6 and a 75 overall at 23 years old. His attributes, I mean, he is a useful player. At 89 offensive awareness, that's not bad. If we play him with decent players, he'll be decent. But him on his own, it's a tough call. Vasunov didn't improve much either. Linden, 16 points this year. I don't think there was any improvement there. I think he was medium bottom 6 to begin with. I might be mistaken on that. Regardless, though, medium bottom 6, it's not really going to help us out all that much. So we will sim through the rest of the postseason. Of course, we'll pay more attention to what happens around the league and everything. And in fairness, I should have just looked that in there, but that's okay. We'll take a look at what happened around the league, and of course, we'll recap the awards and everything as we always do. But the progress reports, I think, will be the more interesting side of it, you know, as far as whether or not we actually have seen improvement. I've had a couple of you in the meantime, in between the last episode and this one, mention that you've had players improve. So it is relatively frustrating to have not had that happen yet, at least not to a noticeable extent. So just a quick look through here. Of course, if anyone wants to take a closer look, they can. Okay. How the hell as a 67 did he do that well? Jesus. I thought we were going to see a massive overall or potential improve for him. Of course, we had him not that long ago. Still no improvements there. So I guess that's a negative thing, right? I mean, hell, I should hopefully remember to check on that guy, that goaltender, Cote Cazenave, whatever. Hopefully, I remember to check him after we go through the awards so that I can see if he has seen any potential improvement as well. You know, now that he's not on a horrible team like we are. We're not a horrible team. We're just a bad team. That's all. So we'll see. I don't know, man. It's constant nerves with this, and just almost desperation to see something work and to see a notable bit of improvement as the Edmonton Oilers win the Stanley Cup. Let's take a look at their journey. They beat the Florida Panthers in Game 7. The Calder Cup went to the San Diego Gulls. They swept the Cleveland Monsters in the final. Taking a look at Edmonton, Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl still there, so it's not exactly surprising. McDavid now 27. And just to see what he's done lately, up to 834 career points. Yeah, they have Draisaitl, Paul Stastny's there, Yamamoto, up to an 88. Jesus. Nugent Hopkins, Maximoff, Tyler Benson, who they sent down in real life. I can't believe they're not giving him a chance this year. Pool Party came back. Aiden Foote. And defensemen, they ended up with Risto. Darnell Nurse, Caleb Jones, Evan Bouchard, who was an 81. Caleb Jones is actually higher rated. Philip Broberg, the Broberg, up to an 81 at 22 years old. Peter Mrazek. Sure. Why not? I'm like, yeah, okay. And then Peter Mrazek. Sure. The Florida Panthers almost won back-to-back Stanley Cups. But there you go. Rangers, Bruins, Flyers, Panthers, and the Oilers become the first Western Conference team to win in this series. Barkov wins the Art Ross. The Hart went to Aho. John Carlson and Norris. Lady Bing to Kuznetsov. Yeah, I mean, sure. Calder went to Brennan Othman. McDavid won the Conn Smythe. Jake Allen won the Vezina. Anything can happen. Jake Allen wins the Vezina, and Jonathan Toews is in Detroit. That is a horrifying sight. Absolutely horrifying. Jesus, Jonathan Toews in Detroit. It's like Patrice Bergeron in Montreal. Just no. No, thank you. So in terms of improvements, if at all, we did see decent improvements for Alexandrov and Jas. No potential improvements, though. Linden's still the same. Again, good improvements. I feel like Brendan Subban might have been low 7th. Maybe. He's the first one where I'm doubting whether or not that was his potential at the start of the year. Good improvements here again. Ranford up to a 66 is nice, but he is 22. So it's a tough call. I mean, obviously these players are going to improve, but in terms of anybody taking that step up towards like, oh, we even have a medium top 6 forward or a medium top 4 defenseman, that simply hasn't happened yet. And I don't know when it will, if at all, as the Panthers, who just lost in the Cup final, have the number 1 pick thanks to a trade, which is absolutely ridiculous. Retired players. What do we got? Evgeny Malkin, Eric Stahl, Jonathan Taves, go figure, Corey Perry, Jeff Carter, James Neal, Dustin Brown, and others. Amongst defensemen, Brent Burns, Keith Yandel, Dustin Bufflin, that might, in Calgary, by the way, that might happen sooner rather than later. Marc-Andre Fleury also finished his career in Calgary. Henrik Lundqvist was in the Carolina organization. So we did lose Yuka Curry and Nicholas Hornquist. So while we did rework the coaching staff heading into this season, we're going to have to rework it again, which is fine. It's going to be a fairly smart move pretty much every year to take a look at the options that are out there to just constantly try and get the best, the best coaching staff that we can, the highest grades that we can, especially the top teaching stats that we can. So what the hell just happened? Okay, I don't know why that brought me to the trade block. Okay, X is at a trade block. Wait a minute, I'm confused. What the hell just... Oh, I went to find trade, not offer trade. I was like, wait a minute, what happened? Ye old trade finder. You gotta love it. So, all of these picks, I'm still gonna deal them. And in terms of like, oh, am I allowed to trade in this series? There's really no rules against it. I mean, obviously we tried early on to have this be kind of draft to glory style where it's like, okay, no trades and we'll just make the most of it. Like, picking up on Artemi Panarin's not really going to help us, you know? Could we potentially trade for him? Maybe. Is it going to help us that much? Not really. So, I'm going to personally avoid that at the moment. Do you have a 7th down the road? Thank you very much, Anaheim. So, we are out of this draft, and we will see what we're dealing with. Do I still have a pick in this draft? Or was that just, yeah, okay, that was just a holdover. That's fine. So, we'll see what we're dealing with. Hopefully there is actually player improvements. Hopefully, maybe, possibly, there are some actually good players that manage to, that manage to make this work for us. And we actually have some good players who went through the draft and are available to us. So let's see what we have here. Goaltending, we're going with a complete reset. I mean, we might as well. We can keep Kyle Kaiser, although I'm not expecting him to improve all that much. We're just going to let all of them go. And I think defensively, it's going to be a bit of a similar story. We're going to let the majority of these guys go. What I'll probably do is we definitely want to sign, well, not definitely, but we're going to bring back Alexandrov. Pretty much I think what the game plan will be is for this offseason, I'm going to take a look at who's available in terms of prospects, and then I'll just, fill out the roster, sim to the beginning of the next season, and, rejoin you guys there as far as whether or not anyone's worth picking up. As Subban played in the NHL this year, so he wants to get paid big time, which is fine by me. We're going to pretty much bring back all these guys again. Same thing. Can trade them away and ditch them if I need to. But, yeah, for the most part, we'll just see. We'll let these guys go. Maybe they can get paid by somebody else. We'll keep Voloshenko for the moment. Left wings, Kajula can go. Rich Kloon is probably going to be a cap whale for us again. And then Jass, still a low 4. A low bottom 6. No potential improvement from Jass whatsoever. It's incredibly frustrating. He's not the first guy to get to, a medium, a mid-70s overall. And unfortunately, it's just we're not seeing that potential improvement. And it's super frustrating as pretty much everyone just rejected their contracts. That's fucking great. Big fan of that. All right, figured I'd jump cut it there. We were able to re-sign those guys. We're good to move forward to free agency. Much easier to do that. That's right. I'm using jump cuts and editing for once. In fairness, we've done that for the majority of the series, but, what are you going to do? So, with that, we have a couple of things to check. The most important to me right now is coaching staff, because apparently Vlasic's still not that good, and I actually looked. His teaching grade is falling. So if there's a better head coach in terms of teaching, we will absolutely be signing him. There is an A+ grade coach. Oh yeah. Yeah, if we can sign Dave Boynton, we're doing it. So let's go back to our current staff because Vlasic is getting canned. From there, what else do we have? Korea still has good teaching. Let's get rid of you for the moment and you for the moment. So we need an NHL head coach and a lot of other things. So let's go to NHL head coach. And again, Dave Boynton is definitely going to be the target, and hopefully he signs. For the love of God, please sign. Please, 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 please. Well, if he signs, we'll base the rest of the NHL coaches off of what he does. Cullimore is an offensive style AHL coach. So let's see if we can find anybody with the associate and the assistants that match what we're looking for. Again, we're mainly worried about that teaching grade. And we have 3 generalists, which is fine by me, including Taves, who we just got rid of. They all play a physical style, though. Damn it. It doesn't really help. Doesn't really help. There was the one forward specialist here, Nicholas Markstrom. Definitely a special teams focused guy. We'll bring this guy in. The teaching stat wasn't that much worse, so we'll bring him in. And AHL assistant, of course, all the top assistants are goalie coaches. Just kind of how it works. We have a generalist here. Plays a balanced style. It's Lazarev, who we had before. This person here has slightly better grades, like Plekhanov, but you're a defensive specialist. Another generalist here has a good PK at least. This person, the teaching sucks. So close. So Stan Lazarev, if you'd like to come back, even though I literally just fired you, that would be cool. So we'll see if that head coach signs. The big moment now, as it is going to be, is whether or not there are any decent players. And needless to say, I am not exactly holding my breath for good players. I'm just not. And when you look at value here, I don't think any of our low 6s took a step up. In terms of overall, sure. In terms of potential, nah. So, we'll see. We'll see. We desperately need decent players. Oh, so desperately. So, let's take a look here. There is an RFA. Of course, we don't want RFAs. So, UFAs, Joe Wall was drafted. Skarik was drafted. Konovalov is not available. So, we're going to have to rely on a fringe. What about Erskine? Undrafted. So, that he'll definitely be a target. He has to be. Staples is fine. That guy's 23. So, Staples and Erskine are looking likely. Mancari, also an option. Goodrow. What about Wharton? Also an option. So, I mean, in terms of overall, I mean, Wharton's 21. That kind of sucks. Mancari is just way too low of an overall, even if he's 19. So, I mean, we're looking at Erskine. We're looking at Staples. How many medium fringe guys do we have here? The answer is a lot, which is good news, actually. And a lot of these guys are older, though. We have Levesque, who's a 56, so that doesn't help that much. Now, the 23-year-old guys here, if they are undrafted, they could help if the overalls are decent. Like, even Davis was a bit low. I suppose 24 is not that bad either, but Justice Anuan has been drafted. Yeah, third-round pick of Colorado. And then there's Korobov and Mikhail Koristin, who we had before. What about Nazarov? He was drafted. Let's send a deal to Koristin. We're going to bring this guy back, if we can, after a season away. Who else do we have here? There was Levesque, who was a 56, which doesn't help much. And for a lot of these guys, it's not looking good. What about Semin? Former first-round pick of the Sabres. Walton would have been great, but that's not going to happen. Renberg is way too low of an overall. Schubert would be a decent pickup. That, of course, is not going to happen. So Nyquist is a 63 at 21. We're going to bring him in for what will be his ELC. We're also going to look for Erskine and Staples. And I think those will be the goalies that we run with. I mean, there's at least 4 fringe goalies that we should give a shot to. I mean, it's obviously going to kill the team's success rate, but it's the best way to go, from what I feel. And in terms of defense, oh God. So all of them, well, Chad Chris was actually drafted. Dursey, not good. Horkoff, not going to work. Atkison's not going to work either. So no top-notch defensemen available to us. And when it comes to medium top sixes, Ragnarsson was drafted. This is looking rough, man. Tristan Dixon also drafted. And then we're down to low sixes. And again, none of these low sixes that we've had thus far for defensemen have improved, which is a nightmare. How many low top sixes are there? Quite a few. Who's this guy? Francisco McKenzie, former first-round pick. That's pretty rough for a former first-round pick. Clifford Hewitt's not going to work. So Zach Thorne, he's a 60 at 20 years old. Might as well give him a shot on his ELC. That dude's not going to work. We have Graham and Von Fierson. That's it. We'll go for Graham. He's a little bit higher rated, but I don't expect that guy to make it at all. How could we? And for medium sevenths, like I said, for veterans, I'll take a look and fill out the roster because that'll be relatively boring, I'm sure. I'm not even sure how exciting this is to just watch my hopes and dreams get crushed again, which is all that's happening. Jorgensen, he's a 56. He's way too low, and the other guy was a 54. Hugo Haas. Hugo Haas could work. He's a 72 at 23. Undrafted. That could work for us. That dude's a 55. Fritz was picked up. Butsayev is a 59. That's a bit rough. Varlamov undrafted, as was Clutterbuck. Hagos, not going to work for us. All of you were drafted. Percy, he's a 69 at 23 years old. It's a little bit too low, I think, for anyone who would actually make it. There's just nobody to work with here, man. Vlasic's a 56 at 19. I mean, we might as well give him a chance. Do we have anybody else here that fits the description? Chubarov, 59 at 20. Can give him a chance as well, but slim pickings. That's the continued word. The only way we are going to find success is if the coaching staff can make this work. If we can, manage to actually start getting the player improvements that we need for player potential, we'll have a chance. If we can't get that to happen, I don't know, man. I don't see how this will work. It just doesn't look like this is possible this year, like it would have potentially been last year, unless we start seeing examples of players improving. Could sign Ben Gleason. There's 1,000 medium 7th potential guys. But unless they go up to medium top 6, it's not going to be great. So I think for defensemen, we have pretty much looked at all of our options. Where was Matheson? Yeah, he's not great. Fedorov, 57 at 20. Just kind of more of the same with what we've already picked up. 58, 53. Haynes is a 58. So just a lot of these high 50s, medium 7th guys. And it's just not going to happen for us. Are there any players with a little bit higher of an overall? No. So forward-wise, do we somehow have anybody who wants to be a difference maker? Cope was drafted. So just like that, we're back to medium 9 at best territory. I can't say I'm feeling optimistic here. I really can't. This is looking scary. It is not looking like we're gonna find any sort of success anytime soon. Alright, so again, for the sake of time, we skip ahead. This team is set. First and foremost, I want to show you the staff. The good thing is we did get the head coach that we wanted. Boynton has signed, and again, he is absolutely tremendous. Whether or not he stays that way, time will tell. It really, depends on our success here. He is based on Mike Babcock, though. So, there you go. I guess that works. We ended up with Correa as our associate coach, Gormley as our assistant, and our goalie coach. Again, the most important thing is that teaching rating. And then down in the AHL, it's still looking pretty good. Markstrom and Lazarev, but it's still looking pretty good from a coaching perspective. When it comes to the team, in fairness, I haven't looked at the AHL lineup yet, but this is the NHL lineup. Iafallo, Cahoon, and Hunt have have all improved since they've been here, which really makes me think that the only way this challenge could possibly be successful is with these type of players right out of the gates. But the most frustrating thing is that we still have no improvement from Jass, nor do we have improvement from Vasunov when it comes to potential. I would have to think that if we don't see improvement, and if you swap Linden with Roussel, we can call it the bottom 6. If we don't see improvements from the bottom 6 in terms of potential, I think we're screwed within the next 2 to 3 seasons. And honestly, I think that's about how much time we have left here. If we can't, get these guys to improve in terms of potential within the next 2 to 3 seasons, maybe this challenge just isn't going to work. I hate to say it because I want it to work, but I am just flat out not seeing anything here that makes me think, oh yeah, this could work. Everything that's, that we're seeing right now at least makes me think that it's not possible. But time will tell. But unfortunately, I do have to cut this episode a little bit short. We're only going to get done with that 1 year. But I'm hoping that as we move into this next season with pretty much as good of a coaching staff as we can get, and with a decent mix of established guys and the younger players on the roster, it's almost make or break in terms of like, okay, is this possible? It very well may not be, but we're going to find out one way or another.